Hi, I'm Samantha Brinn. I am a lawyer during the day, and at night I write spicy romance. So I am born and raised in Pittsburgh, but I live in New York right now with my family. And my first book, Because of You, came out in July, and it's a sweet and spicy friends to lovers, childhood friends to lovers story. And my second book, which is a road trip romance, comes out in October.
What was your inspiration for your books?
I've had this series in my head for God, probably like over a decade now. I sort of conceived of it when I was working at a big law firm, and just like my hours were crazy and I was working just constantly. And I really liked what I was doing, but I hated what I was doing it. So I needed like something to amuse myself. So I came up with the idea for this series of books about four best friends who leave all of their big law practices and start their own law firm, which I guess was kind of my dream, not to start my own law firm, but just like to leave my big law practice, which is like what I really wanted to do at the time. And then, life was lifing. So like I was working a lot, and then I had kids, and then I was sort of like admired like in all of that. And so it wasn't until earlier this year, or actually late last year, that I was ready to write. So, but my inspiration was just kind of sitting in a law firm thinking, like being very uncreative and thinking like I really need something creative in my life. So it took me about a decade, but I did it.
And I love your books, so I can't wait for your next one to come out as well.
Thank you.
What drew you to writing?
I'm sorry.
What drew you to writing?
I've kind of written a little bit on and off. I never really wrote fiction. I was a blogger sort of in the early 2010s when like blogging was really cool and like everybody was doing it. It's sort of like the age of the mommy blogger, but I didn't have kids yet, so I was just kind of doing it for fun. I've just kind of always liked the idea of like putting words to paper, and then when I decided to start writing my first book, I thought like, I mean, I don't know if I can do this, but I'm gonna just give it a try. And it turns out that like the idea of creating a world and just like exploring all the things that interest me like through writing was just really fun. Like I love the idea of like female friendship and like close male friendships, and finding family where you may not have found family before, and things like that. Like just exploring all of that through fiction was just really, really fun.
How did you choose which character to center the story around? I know you said your series is on the four friends.
Yeah.
Did you know who in what order it would be the
Yeah. So Hallie was always first. She was like, I think maybe because I mean, I like all the girls are kind of me, like they're all just different parts of me. But I wanted to write the childhood friends to lovers story just because like that's my favorite trope to read. So I thought it would be a really fun way to start writing. And so I always knew she was going to be first, and then um, the rest of the series actually is going a different way than it was supposed to. I thought Emma was going to be second. That was like when I set out to write the story. When I set out to write the series, it was going to be Hallie and then Emma, and then it wasn't until I got to like closer to the end of Hallie's story when like unspoilery but sort of spoiler when they have their fight. Once they like when I was as I was writing that scene, I was like, Julie needs to be second because like she needs her redemption arc. Like there's a reason she is how she is, and like I can't go a whole other book without telling the people like how she is. So she was not supposed to be second originally, but she is now.
I like how the stories progress, like the characters lead you in a way, and then like actually now I need to fix it a
Yeah,
little bit more.
she's like everyone when you read books too, you'll see like she's so complicated and she's so lovable. She's just really complex, and like there's a reason she reacted the way she did, and like she's really sorry. But I really wanted to give everybody her story because also I was afraid if she sort of like acted like that, kind of like crazy control freak for like a whole second book. Like nobody would like her, but like I really like her. So I just wanted to tell her story. So that's what you're getting.
I can't wait. What is your process for writing your books? So are you a pantser or you're a plotter?
I'm a pantser, 100%. Like I really just sit down. I do all my writing at night because I have a full time job during the day. So I do all my writing from like basically like 8 p.m. to midnight ish. That's like when all the words come out. But I really never know what's going to happen when I sit down to write. I always know like I just started writing book three, and I knew like I know what the main theme is going to be. Like I know sort of like the main thing that's going to happen, but like that's it. Like I don't know pretty much anything else. So I kind of just sit down and like whatever happens happens. I
The characters drive the story.
It's sort of, yeah, I think I've said before, it's sort of like the like Jesus take the wheel version of writing. And like once I get to a certain point, I can plot like not plot, but I kind of know what's going to happen for the next, let's say, like four chapters. So I'll write like like chapter five, like one sentence, like chapter six, one sentence. But I can only do that for like like four-ish chapters at a time. And then like once I get to the end, so before book one and book two, once I got to really like closer to the end when I had, let's say, like seven or eight chapters left, then I could like I kind of plotted like those chapters. But before I get to that point, it's just anyone's guess.
What is your approach to world and character building?
So I just realized that I should probably start keeping notes on what like everyone's ages are, and like it was easy for the first book and even like kind of for the second book because the second book picks up like basically right where the first book left off. So the second book, chapter one of the second book, is just like right after the epilogue to the first book. So that was like kind of easy. But now that I'm in book three, so I'm getting like farther along in the timeline. Like I realized like they can't be 29 anymore. Like,
They're
they have to
grown up.
they have to keep getting older. So I actually just the other day sat down and did like a little spreadsheet of just like all the characters, like just like their age in book one, their age in book two, their age in book three, um, their age like when they were in high school, which was important because that's where book one started. And then the age, for example, like Jeremy never went to college until after his NH, like he met Ben after his hockey career. So like just making sure that he is like as much older as he needs to be, like than everybody else. That sort of started to get a little tricky. So I started just like keeping some notes about all of that. But that's like a new development. It mostly was like in my head, which I guess is not the best way to go. So it worked for me really well for two books. But now I have to start.
Need to actually so it's have a record so it's now consistent through the books.
100%. Yes, absolutely.
Did you have a favorite moment in the book to write?
Um, God, I loved writing the lake chapters, all of them. I just like I love the idea of a family vacation where it's like multiple families together and like a tradition like they go every year and just like all kinds of friends too. Like it's one family, it's like two families, but then all of their friends. Like I love the idea of like a big rowdy vacation. And I've always loved summer vacations in particular because I don't know, I feel like with magic happens like on summer vacations and like summer camp and all of this. Like summer to me is like when the fun things happen. So I loved writing the lake chapters.
And you can really see the love of the lake chapter in your book. So it's really cool to hear.
Yeah, it was a really fun one to write.
Which of your characters do you relate to the most and why?
Okay, so all of them, all the girls are me. Like everyone asks me like which one is you. They're really all me. Like I'm like a sort of like oldest daughter people pleaser. Like Hallie, like I have two younger sisters, just like she does. I am like sometimes like an anxious mess, like Julie is, and a serious introvert like Emma, but also love to like cover everything in pink and sparkles like Molly. So it's just like all the different parts of me are them.
And I think you can't help but do that when you're writing your characters. Like you're always going to have parts of you in them.
Yeah, there's pieces of me everywhere. And like also I wrote like Ben and Julie's mom is sort of like the mom that I would like sort of aspire to be when I have older, like adult kids. And like when my kids get older. And there's like parts of me sprinkled everywhere.
How has writing and publishing a book changed the way you see yourself?
I think it's given me like a lot more, like it's given me an outlet that I didn't have before. I think um, as women, especially mothers, there's this idea that you are like this one thing. Like you have kids and you become a mother. And like that's okay. Like if that works for you, that's excellent. Like that's great. But I think there's this idea that that is all that we can be. And I didn't realize until my youngest is 6 now. So it took me, and I've been writing since last November. So it took me, and like after she turned 5, it took me that long to kind of like be in a place where I could do something else, like where parenting wasn't as like physically taxing anymore and like it's a little more independent. And like I started doing this and I didn't realize how badly I needed something that belonged to me. Like it didn't belong to my kids, it didn't belong to my husband. It's mine. And it's where a place where like I get to make all the decisions. Like I get to control everything. Like it's my little world. Like it's something that I've carved out for myself. And I think that's given me it's just really given me a whole new outlook. Like it's given me a lot more confidence. Like it's kind of changed the way I see the world. It has brought me brought like the most amazing people into my life. Like I've met the other authors that I've met have become such dear friends of mine. The like bookstagrammers that I've developed relationships with that have like read my first book and sort of were like with me, like sort of found me from the beginning, however they did, and have been following along and like getting so excited, and they're just so wonderful. And it just I didn't that is the part that has been such like a joyful part of this experience that I just didn't anticipate was just all the amazing people that it would bring into my life. Like I didn't have kind of write a book, find your people
Mm.
on my bingo card, but that's exactly what happened. So that's just been so much fun.
I think the community, especially online, is so supportive and like so welcoming that I think people's surprised when if they like recently joining or have gone away from it for a little bit, like they can't believe how welcoming and supportive that everyone is, and everyone's truly just welcoming and supportive of
It
everyone.
is just the most, and it's a world like inhabited by women in a way that like I think there are not a lot of spaces that are like that. From like the authors to the bookstagrammers to the cover designers and the PR companies and like um, everyone who like is a part of this world. It's a world for women, made for women by women, and we do not have a lot of spaces like that. And
No.
it's really really unique and really special. And I mean, I've been a romance reader my entire life. I've been a romance reader since I was 13, and it's just like a really special part of me. So to find all of the people who like fangirl out over romance the same way I've been doing since I was a teenager is just so much fun and so cool. And everyone's amazing, just absolutely amazing.
Mm. Definitely. What advice would you give a writer working on their first book? And what advice were you given?
I would just say, just write the story that you want. Like, don't worry about like tropes and what's trending and what's popular. Let's just like write the story of your heart. Like, write just sit down and write, and like whatever comes out of you is the story that you are supposed to tell. And like there's time enough for editing and proofreading and like making sure it's perfect and everything, but just when you sit down to write, just write whatever comes out, because and just don't worry too much about like, is this what the people want, or is this because if you really put your heart into it and write what it is that you want to write, like people are going to respond to that, and you will find your readers. I think it's like there's sort of it's hard to not fall into the like trap of like I don't know, Kindle Unlimited page reads and like
Yeah.
how many people are buying the book. It's like it's hard sometimes not to fall into that trap, but um, there is a reader for every single book. And if you are like your book is going to be somebody's favorite book. And I think that like keeping that in your mind is so important because like someone is going to read your book and it's going to change them in some way. And that's like a really, really special thing.
It really is perfect advice. Are there any books or authors that inspired you to become in your writing?
God, I think just all of them. Really, like I at my like before I'm anything else, I'm a reader. I've been a reader my entire life. I read my first romance when I was a teenager, and I'd never stopped. I just kept on reading. So I think just all of them, just like being a part of this world and like being so in awe because I was a bookstagrammer first, and just like being so in awe of authors, indie authors especially, and like the hard work that they put in, and like a lot of them have full time jobs also and are writing on the side just for the love of it, and just like there's just like a place for everyone, I think, and that like that has been really inspiring. Just watching different authors write such different books. There just is really room for everybody. So I found that very inspiring. Like at times where I thought like maybe I should be writing a happy romance, but like I love to read happy romance. I didn't really want to write one. Like
Mm,
that's not my genre. But like there are so many authors that do and do it amazingly, and like I eat up their books. And so just like seeing the breadth and like depth of different authors and all of their books, like it's sort of inspiring that there's a place for everybody here.
definitely. And also it's like different to reading than writing. Different.
So different. It's like I read like I read all kinds of things. And it was, I mean, being a reader first, I think was helpful in thinking about like what it was that I really wanted to write. Like I read tons of books where I just like I could never like I'm just in awe of authors that write in certain genres, and like I just could never. But but it was helpful to be able to just see like just read so many different books and see so many different books and know there's a place for everyone's idea out there. There really is.
Definitely. What's your favorite writing snack or drink?
I'm a Cheez It girl, just like Hallie. She's a Diet Pepsi, just like her. Although that's been like the biggest controversy of my book is like the Coke versus Pepsi people. It's really funny.
I don't drink soft drinks, so it doesn't affect.
The Coke versus Pepsi thing has been very funny. Like I've had people say to me, "Oh my god, I loved every single word about your book, but girl, the Pepsi thing, come on!" I laugh up. I think it's so funny.
Oh, that's so funny. Do you play music while you write? And if so, what's your favorite music?
I don't. I write just in the quiet. It's sort of my like I don't know. I feel like if I know a lot of people swear by listening. They have like a writing playlist, or
Mm.
I can't like I can't hear myself think when there's music. I've tried. I really want to be a music while writing person. Just can't do it. And I can't wear I don't wear headphones either. Like I need like the right amount of background noise, but not too much
Yeah.
background noise. It's all it's like really weird.
I always, even if I'm reading, I need background noise, so I totally understand with perfect amount. And I think if you listen to music, you might get like the words of the song.
I guess listen to like the instrumental versions of songs. I actually have one friend who does like no words, like only the instrumental versions of the songs. So I guess I could try that, but I don't know. I kind of because I think maybe because I write at the end of the day, like after I've worked a full day and then like done the dinner, showers, like bedtime with my kids, and then it's like I've had a lot of noise all
You're
day,
just
like things are
quiet
going
now.
on. So it's like I sit down and it's quiet, and I just write whatever like comes out of my head.
And my final question is, who has been your biggest supporter of your writing?
Oh God, probably my sisters and my mom. I like my mom. They both they're all romance readers also. And they've all known for years that I like had this idea in my head and I really wanted to write a book. And so like I don't know, every now and then my mom or one of my sisters would be like, hey, like when do you think you're gonna write your book? So when I told them last November when I sat down to do it and like finally wrote, like started writing the book, they were like just super excited about it. And they were my first readers. Like as soon as I finished the first draft, I sent it to my mom and my sisters, and like they read it first, and they like had the first hard copies, and like my sisters bought a whole bunch of hard copies and like gave them to all their friends. And my mom was like talking about like what bookstores she could go to in Pittsburgh where she lives, because I grew up in Pittsburgh where I set the book. My parents still live there, so she was like, "What bookstores can I go into and like ask if they're carrying your book?" And she like would go out and take pictures for me. Like when I needed a picture of downtown Pittsburgh, like she went and took it for me. And so for sure, like the women in my
So great to hear that important women in your life are so supportive, and I love that they've actually read your book as well, because I know some authors, they shy away from their family members reading.
family. So my sisters, I was so happy to have my mom and my sisters read it. And then my dad wanted to read it. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't think that you're going to want to read this. And he was like, no, like you wrote it. I want to read every single word that you write. You wrote it. I'm reading it. So okay. So I sent him the ebook to his Kindle. And anyone who's read it knows that the spice hits around like 46, 47%.
Yeah.
So I got a text from my dad, read up to 47%. That's enough for me. So I think like as soon as the spice hit, he was like, nope, I'm done.
That's that's perfect.
I also have a really nice group of friends, like neighborhood friends locally, who are like, they're my neighbors. We're raising our kids together. We met when our oldest kids were really, really young. So we've been friends for almost a decade. And they're some of them are readers, some of them are not readers, some of them are romance readers, some of them are not, but they all were huge supporters. Like they were so excited about it. They threw me a book party on my release day, like at one of their houses, and invited like every woman I know. So between like the women in my family and just like the other women in my life, like locally, like my neighborhood friends, I've just been really, really lucky in that regard.
We're very lucky.